Norfolk Admirals head coach Jeff Carr on the podcast, Sports Rep Sit-Downs. Brand new season. You just got back from Manitoba Moose Camp. How does the team feel? How does the roster look? Everything like that.
I mean, it's two or three different chapters in the ECHL. You're going to have a very thin training camp because we're the last ones coming from the NHL and AHL, and with the NHL starting up this week, now a lot of the guys have funneled down. To answer your question, we're very thin on day one, and then you get a couple more, and then a couple more, and a couple more, and by the end of the week, you have more of an semblance of what your roster is going to shake out and look at least to start the year. We're at the very beginning stage of starting to see guys funnel in tomorrow and the next day, so we're a little light right now, 11 forwards and 6 defensemen. But again, those numbers will climb up and the competition will stay stiff, so the time we play the inter-squad blue-gold game, there'll be guys fighting for jobs, which we love to see.
You had 6 players from the Admirals go up for Moose Camp. Jack O'Leary, Brandon Osmondson, some of those guys, right? So is that a testament to the guys that you built down here, that they're getting that call to at least try out for an AHL team?
Yeah, I mean, two different things. One, it's awesome that we have an affiliate that wants us to see our guys. They know that the guys that are ripe, I guess, for those moments are good enough and will not only hold their own, but they're taking a legit look at. So I think it's a testament that they allow us to do that and that they're open to it. There's no salary cap. There's no roster limits in the AHL. You can have 40 guys and $40 million. Now, guys aren't going to do that, obviously, but to have the opening of the mind and say, yeah, we'll give everyone a chance, that's huge. And then, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's not the word humble, but I'm sometimes just too much where I'm not saying exactly, this organization's incredible and we're a huge destination for guys to develop, and they love it here. Sometimes in the ECHL, you're having a destination city to end your career and you get good players. So to have both of that, and have guys come in at young. I mean, we've had three different guys make the National Hockey League in their debut in the last year or two. A lot of guys called up, a lot of guys earned 2-way contracts. So I think these guys going to camp, the numbers support it and back it, that this isn't just a one-day camp and then not looking. There's a guy right now on our roster, I'm not going to share a name right now, but it's not looking like he's going to start with us. So for him to walk in and to start the year with them, now he could maybe at the end of the week, and we'll see with the Jets and Moose. But I mean, there's your answer right there. It's a real thing and it's huge for us, and I think Manitoba really appreciates the guys we send them.
In terms of the speed of play, right, going from that ECHL to AHL jump, right, for some guys that maybe have spent their entire careers down in the ECHL, like an Oz, who have yet to taste kind of like that AHL speed. What did you see out of guys specifically like that in him, who adapted well to the speed?
Yeah, great question. The key is you have to know what your role is, and then you have to accept and come to a reality of what that role is at that level, and then you have to be the best in the world at that role to survive. So you take a guy like Oz, he can go make some feather nice passes, and he's one of the smarter players on our team. He can be deceptive and creative, but I'm giving you all these soft skills. He's not going to do anything soft skill up there, maybe once every 3 to 4 days. So what is his role? He's an undersized guy that's not undersized anymore. He's put 10 to 12 pounds of muscle on. He's got 2 years of pro conditioning, so he's now a professional. He's not an amateur at college and kind of helping out and, you know, his body and his mind and what he needs to do. It's a full-time job. So he's put himself in a position, and then he can read the room. He's a smart guy, his attitude and effort. So now he knows, I'm going to be a disruptor and I need to be an energy guy and I need to prevent goals from happening. That's my job. So he gave that effort up there, and he looked world class at it because he never stepped left or right. He didn't scoff at it, and he had the attitude. But then you take the 2-year conditioning. So, you know, we talk about courage, we talk about conditioning, we talk about intelligence, you know, being aggressive, and then having stability. Those are our 5 core values to be an Admiral. So I just named all 5 that he hits. So you don't say, well, he's undersized, he's 5'7", or he's 165 pounds. He hits those 5, that puts him in a position up there. The guys that are 4 for 5, 9 out of 10 times don't have a chance. And then the guys that hit 3 or less, they're struggling here, bar none up there.
with Brandon, for a guy who came into this thing, not even knowing if 2 weeks might have been his limit here when he first got here.
Yeah.
You guys were injured, right? You pulled him in. 2 weeks was maybe the expectation. But now for him to not only be a guy, like you said, 2 years, pro conditioning, he's going into his third season with this team, but now he's a backbone in the locker room.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's a voice that people respect, that turn to for advice, whatever it may be. For a guy like that who has really cemented himself into this organization, does that mean anything more to you, knowing that he's really worked his way into this thing?
I think it means more to him. It's another time right when you hear 8 or 9 guys, they make up how hard they work, and they think or they talk about who they've skated with in the summer, because I skated with this guy that plays in the NHL. No one cares that you skated with some guy in August that plays in the NHL. I don't think that guy goes home and tells his wife, I skated with him.
Right.
So it means something to him, but where it means something to the coaches and coaching staff, and why we do this, is the reward of hard work really paying off. That's the beauty of what coaching is. That's all we want, right? We want guys to want to get better. We don't have all the answers. I mean, I know I don't for sure, but we have a lot of answers through experience that we're putting, our heart and our mind and our experience into these things, right, wrong, or different, to get them to be better, to reach their goals in life. That's all people want to do in their 20s and 30s, is just hair on fire and run towards your goals. It doesn't matter if anyone's going left or right of what they want, they're not really listening. So
right.
The guys that do listen, the guys that do pay the price, but you have to be good. A lot of people don't want the pressure, talk about injuries or self-sabotage, or I was left with a raw deal. That doesn't exist, guys that climb up the ladder. The world's best guys. It's funny, the McDavid's, like, he's taken $3.5 million or $4.5 million less than Kaprizov because he wants to win that bad.
I was surprised when I saw that contract.
Yeah, but we knew that internally, like, that was that's different. That's how bad he wants to win, and he can afford it. And I don't want to get off on that path,
yeah.
But that just shows you when you talk, like, for him, he's trying to be an all-time legendary player, in the game of hockey of all time. So you have to do things that legends of the game would do, and that's one of those moves. And Osmondson, I laugh. He had no business playing Tier 3 hockey. Should have been Tier 2. If I was a coach, that's where he would have been. He has no business playing, and Utica's a great program.
Yeah.
Should not have played Division 3 hockey. But you're going to always get these coaches that good for the hometown team here to take him, and good for Gary Heenan up in Utica to see it. But shame on everyone else, because they always see, his size, and he's from a non-hockey market. And so I don't want to rave just too much about him. Jack O'Leary's another guy, McDougall, Musser, Florent Heaves has came in, Justin Young. We've gotten so many guys, Marco Reifenberger back, and these guys that are looking for that next opportunity within their role to seize it. And I see a lot of guys, again, nothing to do with stature or their playing ability, but in that exact situation that now we can use Oz. And this is what he's done, and hey, don't ask me about it. Go talk to him,
right.
And I know what he's going to say. He's going to say, Jeff didn't talk to me for 3 months, and it was survival of the fittest, because it was. Because if I can't guide them through every step, they have to show us, and that's what he did. And then a lot more of the teachings happened in the last year.
I always wanted a high-paying career, but I didn't want to be stuck at a desk. In just 4 months, Tidewater Community College taught me how to drive a truck. The pay is great, and I have the independence I've always wanted. They helped me with financial aid and showed me how to enroll. TCC even helped me find a job. Now I'm on my way. Tidewater Community College. From here, go anywhere.
So 2 years ago, when we talked before the playoffs, roster was thin, injuries, everything like that. This past season was the exact opposite. You rolled into the Kelly Cup playoffs, and the one thing that you were preaching more than anything was the depth of the roster, right? I mean, you just listed off a ton of names. You had Crone coming in. So, I mean, how would you summarize last season? You were the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. You go in, Troyes in the second round. It was a really gritty series where I think it was, 3 or 4 games decided by 1 goal, right? So, I mean, walk me through, summarize last season for me as a whole. How did you walk away digesting that?
They're both learning lessons. The simple version of the 23-24 was we needed to be that hot team that just kept carrying, because we played with, a little momentum in that first series. We were up 2-0 in the next series, and we outshot, did everything right in game 3, and the puck didn't fall. And then we and me as, the head coach didn't do a good enough job of re-establishing this is a must-win in game 4, and we're not okay. And that series in Poulter was phenomenal, right? And it didn't get away. It was just we were a little bit hurt and a little injured going into it, and we stayed injured, and we played 6 players, got injured throughout 2 weeks. 2 playoff series. So we played with 2 players short in game 6. We come into last year, we were a little bit thin, we weren't sure, and then we made some mega splash deals, as everyone knows. You got Crone, you got Brodzinski, you got Young, you bring in all these Hebes from overseas, and we were loaded, we were talented. We changed though. We were a hard-nosed edge team that Lewiski and Kubicek and really set the standard, and then we morphed into a highly, highly skilled team, but we could still play with anyone in pace, and we thought we had a top roster in the league. And then we go in and we play game 6 of the same exact division finals. Credit to Trois-Rivières for winning it, and Kavlin just standing on his head.
It was incredible.
But we played with 2 players short in game 6, and we had 6 injuries again. And this has to stop with this organization, and I don't know if it's the nature of the physicality. I don't know if it's the nature of the heart of the guys that are out, because some guys had some really, really honest bad injuries. There's nothing they could do, but I just personally don't buy 12, and we and our ownership does not buy why we have 6 players injured every year. So that's been a message in training camp, that it's 72 games played, it's 26 to 28 playoff games, and it's not to not be injured. There's going to be injured. It's just we have to. That's what I took away from playoffs, is there's a lot of learning lessons behind closed doors, but we can't go into another year of that situation. It's just not acceptable anymore.
Yeah, the goaltending, you talked about the goaltending of Trois. The goaltending for you, was another example of standing on their heads, right? Both of your goaltenders in different spots in the playoffs this past season were fantastic, and it's because you had 2 AHL goaltenders that came down here and made statements. What does that look like now? What does that room look like now?
Oh, it's totally different. The Winnipeg Jets will make playoffs. They're too good not to. Manitoba Moose will make playoffs. Their roster is absolutely loaded at the AHL level. In my personal opinion, that's no one else speaking. And we're going to lose a goalie or 2 when they both make playoffs. So we're going to be left with maybe 1 goalie at best, and we're going to be right back because we don't have that ECHL. Now that's part of the system and that's part of the development.
Right.
But I'm not going to sugarcoat and wait for it and then know that it's going to happen, because it will happen. So for us, we're going to have to be on the hunt that whatever goalie's here, they're going to have to carry the load, because there's no scoffing of what we're trying to achieve here. That's never been, that for a couple of years here. But you got to have a top goalie. John Cooper was here, his 3 keys of winning a championship. Good goalie, supportive wife, good goalie. Those are his 3 keys to winning a championship. And Trois-Rivières got that with Luke Kavlin for sure last year. Milic was phenomenal for us. Dom was phenomenal. I think Yanni Peretz was phenomenal for us the year before. But we're gonna have a lot of question marks down the stretch. It's so far away. We got to get off to ground 1 here and not look into playoffs and what could or should happen. But that's where it sits right now. We need to get back to training camp. We need to get back to what identity this year's team. We're not going to have a highly skilled team that made it just to the division finals, and that's it. We're wanting more. We're not the 23-24 team that Lewiski gets buried from behind in game 1 in Adirondack, and there's you felt like we're already thin. All of that stuff is gone. You take the good, you take the bad, you learn from it. But we need to show up in a day at a time, and hopefully I'm talking to you months from now and we're in a good position. But if not, we're going to have to figure out as we go.
When it comes, and I asked you this question last season around playoff time when you had guys moving up and down from Admirals to Moose, and I asked you how you felt as a head coach trying to win a Kelly Cup but then you have the fluctuation of players moving up and down in the system. So you may have a player one day and then you don't have him the next, and then the Moose will send you a guy and you may have him for a week and then not, right? So is there frustration is not the right word, because I know you're an organization guy first, right? But what are the emotions like for you when you can get a guy or a handful of guys and then at the snap of a finger they can be gone and you kind of have to readjust your plan a little bit?
Taking analytics away, it's very simple. The teams that have won the last 15 or 10 Kelly Cups, they don't have movement going up and down at playoff time.
Yeah.
Very rarely will there be the odd man out. I think Trois Rivières had 1D for 2 days, but Beaucage, Beauregard, Novak, all those guys, they're here.
Yeah.
There's an organization commitment of, we have our team. There's, and guys earn their ways up and down. I'm fine with that. But, you'd be hard pressed, and I know people don't want to hear it, but that's the facts. So for us, we have to control our own destiny. We can't make or have Manitoba, and our owner said that too, pave the way for us. But when it comes time for playoffs, the goaltending is a whole different animal.
Right.
But we got to have our roster. We need certain players, and we need guys that are going to win a Kelly Cup. Like, that's our goals, that's our intentions, and that's what we're trying. But again, every year you can't. You got to adapt. You got to adjust. But the last 10, 15 years, you don't see guys going up and down. They're staying, and they're making a commitment. Injuries happen. One-offs happen. So, again, very long term.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at.
And on the other side of things, I remember when you guys opened the Kelly Cup playoffs last year against Wheeling, and there was a lot of chatter like their AHL affiliate got bounced, and are they going to have guys come down? And
sure.
so from that other lens of it too, not just your guys, but then having to game plan for other guys maybe on a 24, 48-hour window, what does that look like in your office?
Great question. That's up in Wheeling, and we're up 3-0 in the series, and Milic has given up 1 goal in 3 games, and almost had 3 shutouts in a row. And I'm just looking at, these 3-4 names, and Klassen, Calvin, these guys that could come down from Wilkes-Barre, and I'm, it's not, okay, it's panic and this, but there's a whole different animal that we have to pre-scout and things. So we got very fortunate that was the scenario that they didn't send those guys, and that's that rare time, like I said. But how far did Wheeling advance? They didn't even get out of the first round. Because they're guys, and again, that's not calling out Wilkes-Barre, that's not calling, we got very lucky that those guys weren't down against us, but it's never going to be a means to us winning a championship. But it's not Winnipeg's job or Manitoba's job, it's our job, but that's what we're going to do, and we're going to try.
You just re-upped your deal with the organization, stay with Winnipeg. The organization, last year Winnipeg had such a good year, so when you look at why Winnipeg, why you want to stay in this organization, what gravitates you toward staying with the Jets?
Well, I mean, Craig Heisinger doesn't want any fanfare. He's a world-class man. That's number one. We get, they talk about collateral damage. There's so much collateral good things because of him. He has his footprint and his handprints on everything. But he wants no glitz and glamour. He stays out of the limelight. He's extremely well respected from all the agents and people and players. I haven't heard a bad thing about him. And he sets the tone. Quite frankly, personally, and this is something that's kind of taken time, but you get Mike Keane, you get Jimmy Roy, that's player development, and obviously Mike Keane with 3 cups and a player and everything, his resume speaks for itself, and Craig Heisinger, and they're incredible small town, guys that play a ferocious style of game, and they fit our identity. So we agree so many things. It's not about players going up and down and all that. We fit both organizations. Then you add in, Mark Morrison and, newer coach with Morgan Klimchuk, and you got Bob Nardella and Chris Dennis, a scout, and you got Drew McIntyre, the goalie coach, and look at our goaltending. So you got a well-rounded staff of phenomenal people, guys that have done that and been there, and they support us and they support our team. Now, sometimes they're not going to send the guys that we wish they'd sent because they're running their own hockey team, or they send us guys that we're very fortunate to get. But you can't find these honest relationships, and in this game, what an honest relationship looks like. I got 200 agents in my phone, and I got time for 140 of them. Now I'll listen to them all, but then out of that, say 140, and I'm just shooting from the hip, there's 10 guys. I talk to the same 10 agents, they send us the same players, they know the standard, they know that. Hopefully we can get more in, and we do our part, and it's the same treatment that we get from Manitoba and Winnipeg is the same treatment that we try to do in our own personal lives and here with hockey, and then giving guys chances. So all of that across the board fits. And I really like, we got an old rink here. Obviously we know that we love playing in it, but sometimes it's got some things that we wish there was a newer rink. And Mike Keane comes into town after the first year and doesn't say anything and just on his own drives over to the practice rink at Chilled Ponds and is watching stuff. And about a month later, he's like, hey, in that back office, that light bulb didn't get changed. And why is the video room not with your guys' logo and graphs? And it's just, he wasn't calling it out, but he wasn't allowed for staleness, and he was setting a standard just like he had in his career. And those little things piggybacked off of when our team was having success in the front office and everything that Mr. and Mrs. Kavanaugh put into this team. It all comes full circle, and then you can look back and from afar say, well, the travel's way too far away, and it's a Canadian-American market, and why are we going with Manitoba, Winnipeg when it's 2 flights basically, no direct flights? This makes no sense. The people and the identity make way more sense for us, so that's what we do.
I want to know a little more about your journey, right? Like I said, Wisconsin, Salt Lake City, Knoxville. So when you expose yourself in your early professional career to non-hockey markets out of the gate, what made you want to keep going and get further along to eventually become a head coach?
Yeah, good question. I think the simple part of it is I was lucky enough to do a lot of things, going to a USHL camp and clinic and playing junior hockey and played college baseball. I've been around sports my whole life. I've been, that's been my life since a very young age. I don't really like anything else but sports. It's like a running joke in our house. But for me, I have been, and I want to clarify, Knoxville was an incredible market for that level, for that. But the fans, like the University of Tennessee Volunteers, are going to take over that. Utah Grizzlies has been around 30-some years, incredible fan base. They've gotten 6,000 to 10,000. So they're good, right? But this, I just feel, turns into, from what the 90s were and then what the AHL days and what it is now, there is no other ticket in the winter, and this is the ticket in town. And I think that's the separation fact right now for us. But to go back to your question, it was never about a crowd. You go and coach Bantams and coach midgets and coach high school hockey. You're playing in front of minimal crowds. It's never been about that. It's the players. It's team camaraderie, 20-some guys, 30 guys to camaraderie and trying to chase a goal. And then you get fortunate enough to move up to a decent level of junior hockey, and then that parlays to an ECHL assistant, and whatever. I've coached 15, 16 years, and I think I've been a head coach for 13 or 14 of them. So I think it's in my nature. I prefer doing that. Is there a time that I could see myself being an assistant for 5 years, 10 years, maybe even 20 straight? Maybe. Things change all the time. But I like what I know and what I've seen and growing, and knowing I don't know a lot where I have to go, research and listen. And I like a staff that really puts their hand in it and wants to, and I'll extract what we're going to bring in. And it's the same with owners. I want everyone to have a say in things, but when things need to be kind of tightly wound, that's what we'll do. So that's kind of where I'm at. Knoxville's been great. Utah is great. Minnesota is great. All these places phenomenal. But to be here with this market, with everything, as you know, it's just on a different level.
Last one, and then we'll get you out of here. 2 years ago, when I talked to you before the playoffs, you talked about your faith being your why, right? How has that evolved? Your why, how has that evolved over the past 2 years?
Great question. It's a touchy subject for viewers or people. It's not that. I think the faith is, I was fortunate enough to coach a guy, and obviously a deep faith, of a higher being and God, and Drew McIntyre's the exact same way. I know he leads with it first. A lot of guys do. We have our team chaplain. It's not taking and just putting there. Everyone's got kind of their own journey. For me, I'm lost without, the faith that I have. So I stay with that, and then when I stray a little bit, that's when I kind of lose myself, so I get back to it. So it's been everything for me and to us. We kind of have a group that we meet with on Mondays, and that's through our church, and that's just kind of a separate thing in people's houses, and you just learn so much about the people in the city, and they support us so much, and the families and what people go through to lean on each other. So I don't take it as this, devout, you have to do A, B, C, D, and if you don't, I think it's more of being a really good person, having your faith and putting your trust in that. And then it's really helped with Drew McIntyre, because I know they were struggling, I think a few years ago, and he said some of the staff members then, never asked him, and then during their struggle, then they asked him about, hey, what church and faith, and it just kind of is eye-opening. I think people, they have their own journey, and that's all their choice, but it's been huge. And when I was in high school or right after playing, I didn't envision this for my life, right? It was sports and hard, and there's only one way in life, and my eyes have been open to it. And I guess a very quick story, I coached a guy in junior hockey, and he was so passionate about his church, his faith, his beliefs, and at that time I was kind of wading through, seeing where I was going with it, and he made me drive him to 3 different churches in the morning. He's a Swedish player named Jacob Liljedroos, and I remember he ended up going back to Sweden. It was like, man, this guy's got it figured out. He didn't waver one bit on what he had. And I think that's, for me, whatever people choose to do in their life, don't waver on it, go full tilt ahead, and don't abandon the plan, and just kind of stick with that faith. So it's been everything for me.
Jeff Carr.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Head coach, Norfolk Admirals. The Admirals open their season October 17th here at Scope against the Savannah Ghost Pirates. And until then, we'll be out here covering it all. So I appreciate you. But for now, James Catato checking in for another episode of Sports Rep Sit Downs. We will see you on the next one.